Hi everybody, welcome to Sunya IAS. Welcome to the mains article discussion. Today we are going to talk about the Cheetah Reintroduction Programme. Now you would have read about that under the project Cheetah, India is bringing. So there is a world's first intercontinental translocation project which is happening, which brings a large wild carnivore, which here is cheetah. So from Namibia and South Africa, we are bringing African cheetahs. So let us talk about it in detail in this mains article discussion. So when we are bringing it to India, so which is the site in which this translocation is happening? This happens to be Kuno Palpur National Park in Madhya Pradesh. And of course, there were other proposed sites as well. We'll also see why was this chosen. But number one, we'll see that yes, Kuno in Madhya Pradesh, Naura Dehi Wildlife Sanctuary, also in Madhya Pradesh, was seen as a proposed site. Okay. Then there is Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, and along with Shahgad Bulge and Mukundra Tiger Reserves, the last two being from Rajasthan. Okay. Now, the first thing that comes to mind is that when we are bringing the African cheetah to India, okay, so why did we choose Kuno National Park? Okay, and the reason to actually go for Kuno National Park can be manifold. Number one, it promises to offer adequate prey base. ठीक है कि यहाँ पे the cheetah will have sufficient things to eat. Okay. Second, it can house the 4 big cats. ठीक है, अगर मैं 4 big cats की बात करूं, which means if I talk of tiger, if I talk of leopard, right? So if I talk of tiger, if I talk of leopard, in fact, if I even talk about cheetah, right? Or if I talk about lion, these are the 4 big cats. So Kuno Palpur National Park will have the capacity to house all the 4 big cats, right? Additionally, you can also think that it is devoid of human settlement. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे there will not be the human interference. That will also be great. Also, अगर मैं vegetation की बात करूँ, if I talk about the vegetation, it has dry deciduous forest. Okay, so one, it has adequate prey base. It can house the 4 big cats: lion, leopard, tiger, okay, and cheetah. Devoid of human settlements, again having the area or having the expanse of dry deciduous forest. All these regions make Kuno Palpur as a suitable site out of the proposed sites which you can see. So these 3 sites, Naura Dehi, Kuno Palpur, Gandhi Sagar, etc., they were from Madhya Pradesh, whereas these 2 were from Rajasthan, and ultimately we went towards Kuno Palpur. Okay. Now again, if you think about the history, what exactly happened here, the Asiatic cheetah, okay, so, or the cheetah which was generally found in India, happened to have been extinct in the 1950s. Okay, and since then, of course, when it was extinct, and right now it is found only in Iran, and that too, it is critically endangered. It is found in very less quantity. Okay, so that is why there is this whole conservation project which is being carried out. Okay, before I move towards its advantage, you might wonder that why are we getting the cheetahs from Africa as opposed to the Asiatic cheetah? That, for example, we used to house, हमारे पास पहले Asiatic cheetah थे, हम उनको क्यों नहीं ला रहे हैं? Why are we bringing African cheetah? This can be a reasonable doubt. So the very simple answer to this is Asiatic cheetah is already critically endangered. It is in very less population, ठीक है, and it is found in Iran. तो ईरान के साथ पहली बात तो getting it out from Iran, again the complex legal procedure etc. is there, but more importantly इसकी population बहुत कम, it has very less population. ठीक है, so because of that we are not entertaining, or we did not entertain the idea to bring the Asiatic cheetah. Then why did we bring the African cheetah? अब African cheetah में पहली बात तो of course South Africa or basically the parts of South Africa and Namibia have high numbers. Okay, around 8,000 African cheetah are present, which means there is sufficient biodiversity for this. Okay, number one. Second, African cheetah. तो इफ आई टॉक अबाउट एंसेस्ट्रल लिंकेज, ठीक है, अगर हम एंसेस्ट्री को ट्रेस करेंगे पीछे जाके, सो वी विल फाइंड दैट अफ्रीकन चीता, ओके, दैट अफ्रीकन चीता बेसिकली is having the ancestral linkage to all the other cheetah varieties. So ultimately इकोलॉजिकल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से अगर हम इसको लाएंगे तो हमारे जीन पूल के लिए अच्छा है, बिकॉज इट हैज एंसेस्ट्रल लिंकेज. This also happens to be an important point, right? So there is an important ancestral linkage. Also, the South African cheetah, okay, has a lot of genetic diversity as well. And again, जब मैं advantages की बात करूंगा, I'll tell you that if a species has a lot of genetic diversity, that helps in ecosystem resilience, which means अगर ecosystem में कोई ऐसे shocks आएंगे, if there are some shocks which are presented to the ecosystem, it will be able to handle it, okay? So that is also part that it is contributing to ecosystem resilience as well, right? So again, let us recap. What did we see? Why are we not bringing Asiatic cheetah? The reason being very less in number, and again bringing it from Iran very less number will become a cumbersome and a complex process, which is why we're going for Africa, which has a lot of numbers. So it means it is high in numbers. Second, these cheetahs have ancestral linkages also, right? And they have high genetic diversity, which also contributes to ecosystem resilience, okay? So this will help you understand that why are we actually bringing the African cheetah. Now to understand this even better, we will see what are the possible advantages, ठीक है, that अगर हम चीता को ला रहे हैं इंडिया में, ऐसे क्या फायदे हैं, what are the advantages that we are getting, okay? So again, as we are seeing in the mains article discussion, we will try to structure our points, ठीक है? अब one very obvious thing has to be environmental benefits, ठीक है? So you can say environmental benefits, there can also be economic benefits, that also we'll see, right? So one by one, अब पहले focus करते हैं environmental benefits क्या हैं. Again, the people who are watching this with me, try to brainstorm and think, okay, that if you are bringing African cheetah, okay, to India, environment level पे क्या है. Again, सबसे पहली बात, it will help in the wildlife conservation. How? Number one, there is a prey and a predator relationship, okay? Cheetah is a predator. It is going to prey, for example, on herbivores, okay? Herbivores eat grass. So if the prey predator relationship may, if there is a problem, for example, if we did not have cheetahs for a long time, which means if the population of prey reduced, if the population of predator reduced, the population of prey will increase. This can lead to overgrazing and ultimately can lead to ecosystem instability. So when you talk about, so when you actually improve or bring in more let's say numbers of cheetah, it will improve the prey predator relationship and ultimately lead to wildlife conservation, right? Then अब additional habitat, what does it mean? अब देखिए, if you are bringing in cheetah, right, तो ऐसा होगा कि आप चीता तो लाएंगे. Secondly, whatever cheetah would eat, right, आप उनको भी बचाएंगे. So you would ensure proper habitat. तो ultimately additional जो habitat या regions है, the regions which will have additional habitat would also get conserved, okay? अब ये आप बोल सकते हैं this can be an indirect consequence, but still environmentally this matters a lot, ठीक है? So number one, it will help in wildlife conservation. Second, it will also promote additional habitat, okay? Then genetic diversity भी promote होगी. अब देखो, when I said Kuno Palpur will have 4 big cats. If you have more of predators, ठीक है, और दूसरी बात तो हमने देखा कि already the African cheetah already will have a lot of genetic diversity. So when you would have read about ecosystem, so ultimately if we bring a diverse species, that adds to the stability of the ecosystem. So पहली बात, this also helps in promoting genetic diversity also, right? Then if we are going, so देखिए अभी क्या है, ultimately because the cheetah in our cases got extinct, right? So when it got extinct, what we are now doing? By going for cheetah conservation, we are going for overall ecosystem balance. ठीक है? तो cheetah conservation से क्या होगा? The health of our ecosystem gets improved. The health of the ecosystem gets improved. That is one. Now, one broad heading, what we can say, what are the other benefits? Okay. In fact, I will also segregate this further. I can say, what are the economic benefits when you go for the reintroduction of cheetahs? Okay. So one will be, it can promote tourism and it can promote ecotourism. There will be a lot of tourists who are going to flock and see. Okay, so be it safaris or be it, let's say, more people coming in, more footfall, etc. So ecotourism promote hoga. Because of this, more jobs will be created. Let's say if I talk of wildlife management or conservation overall, so in these sectors, more jobs will also be created. That also helps. Okay? This is the economic dimension. Let us also think about another dimension, which can be educational dimension. Now, students, scientists, and researchers, okay, now they can analyze the adaptations, diet, behavior. ठीक है, adaptation है, diet है, behavior है, because you are bringing in cheetahs, right? अब आप अगर इसको अच्छे से समझेंगे तो इससे there will be a lot of new experience from an educative, environmental education point of view. Okay, so from an educational perspective, excellent. And then I can even extend it further. अगर मैं बोलूं that this will also increase the awareness of people. The people would get to know कि, for example, यहाँ पे अगर हम, if we are saving or bringing in the cheetahs, we are actually helping to conserve. जो ये point है इसे cheetah conservation, it will help in conserving a particular biome. Again, please note, I am using certain keywords. Okay, for example, adaptation हो गया, biome हो गया, okay, genetic diversity हो गया. So try to use environment related keywords in your answer, right? तो अब if this also helps in protecting the biome, यहाँ पे क्या है biome? This is grassland. Okay, so helping this will promote grassland biome, and this helps to create awareness among people ki, that the people will ultimately support conservation efforts, because they will see, yes, this is going to help. So both from a community perspective and also people and individual perspective, this is going to be a great victory, because this is going to help. Okay, and so what you can write a separate point as more awareness, or this will improve the people / public engagement. Again, because see, there was a lot of media attention on this project. Okay, so because of that, the people, most of the people who are aware, they might not be aware about other conservation initiatives, but they were certainly aware about this. So this definitely helped. Okay, and by the way, this also helped. So again, one more point I can say is this helped us also globally, and this helped to extend the habitat. Okay, this also helped to extend the habitat of cheetah globally, because now the African cheetah are no more limited to the confined geography, but now they are also being particularly, let's say, उनकी जो पूरी habitat है, that has increased. So one is आप locally habitat improve कर रहे हो, okay, that you are working on it locally, and but more important point is, when I talk globally, let's say the overall habitat wherein they are distributed has increased, right? So that is also one important point in this. So if you see, and let's say the kind of advantages this has to offer, one, we have seen environmental benefits, we have seen benefits at educational level, we have seen the benefits at economic level, at the level of people, even at global level. And then I can even add research and monitoring. For example, we will have scientists, etc., forever tracking the movement, understanding all these patterns. So at a research and monitoring level also, Okay, so think from a scientific perspective, this is going to be an exercise that will help us a lot. In fact, we will learn that how are you supposed to manage, let's say if you're bringing in some species from another continent. I said this is the world's first intercontinental large, let's say wild carnivore translocation project. Okay, so in that context you have to see, yes, it is going to be very much important. Okay, so I hope at least this part is clear to you, right? Now before I move towards other aspect, that which also we'll see the current affairs aspect here as well, let us also see that what steps also were taken. Okay, now it might seem to be a simple project, but it is actually difficult to execute. Okay, and to understand what all has happened, let us also trace some of the steps that have gone in. Okay, I told you this is a part of Project Cheetah. Okay, and this was being implemented by the National Tiger Conservation Authority. Okay, NTCA was overseeing it, and there were different cheetah project steering committees. Okay, I'm just writing the full form, this is short form. Cheetah project steering committees which were set up. Okay, and they were responsible for overseeing this, to watch this overall. Okay, and overall the idea of the government was to introduce at least 50 cheetahs over a span of time. Okay, Project Cheetah was executed, and how was it executed? So here a longer time frame was taken because we wanted, because see, the African cheetahs are not native here. Okay, so they would need more time to acclimatize. Okay, so that is why a soft landing approach basically was used to give them more time to acclimatize, right? So overall a longer time span was taken up, number one. Second, vaccination was also ensured, right? So all these cheetahs were vaccinated. Okay, the vaccination of cheetahs were also carried out. Fine. Other than that, because we wanted to monitor, we wanted to even track the movement. Okay, so the use of technology also happened. Technology in the sense they were being tracked through satellite. Okay, so their movement was also being tracked. So this also adds, that shows that technology was also used. So not only do we have administrative, you have a project particular being done. Okay, but you also are fitting them with radio collars. Also this also led to some problem, which also I'll tell you, but all you need to know, they have satellite fitted radio collars. Okay, they have satellite fitted radio collars, right? All these things will contribute to, let's say overall, this shows that there is a proper action plan. So yes, there was a proper action plan for this reintroduction. Okay, so, and this also tells you that, for example, you get a new question that how can a particular species be conserved? You can mention these points, that if there is a proper project, okay, if there is a proper authority, there are proper steering committees, there is a proper, let's say this is a soft release, right? Vaccination, the use of technology, proper long term, okay, and a scientific campaign. In the action plan, the main thing is it has to be done on a scientific basis. What is scientific basis? That we will see overall size, we will see the prey base, because ultimately if they don't have enough thing to eat, slowly and steadily they will die. Okay, and not just the prey base, the overall habitat. So here it was, we are talking of grassland, okay, the dry deciduous region, etc. So all of these things have to be done on a scientific basis, because we're talking of wildlife conservation, wildlife biology and management, which is a very important discipline, at least in the context that we are trying to conserve important biodiversity. Okay, so this action plan, etc., all these things had happened. Okay, and additionally a lot of awareness campaign was done, so the people were also made aware. So awareness campaigns were there. In fact, there was also Cheetah Task Force. So awareness campaigns, Cheetah Task Force, all these things ensured that we followed all the proper steps which were to be there. right? So the project was also backed by a lot of, let's say, action plan. So that is one. But despite all these efforts, okay, you would have read about the articles, okay, highlighting that 9 cheetah have died. Okay, and in fact, the center had submitted its response to the Supreme Court saying that they have died because of the natural causes. Okay, and again, while for us it can be an alarming number, but again, it has been seen in, let's say, long, or let's say in general in translocation projects, that even though we are going for a soft release, better acclimatization, that there are these deaths which do happen. Okay, so this brings us to the concerns related to the project. Okay, and here we will again scientifically try to think about what are the challenges. And of course, there can be reasons for extinction. Already the Asiatic cheetah got extinct in the 1950s. What if this project does not even go further? So we'll see the concerns, and then we'll also see a way forward. Okay, how can technology be used to make this better? Fine. Up again, we have seen this framework again and again, that when we are thinking of concerns, issues, we can divide it. Okay, we will firstly talk about anthropogenic, which means the man-made problems. Okay, so here again, for example, if we go back to history, there is this whole issue of British again and again, let's say, sometimes declaring them vermin. A lot of unregulated hunting also used to happen, etc., and which is why back then they got extinct, because this thing happened. And second, a lot of hunting, and here I can mention also something known as illegal wildlife trade. So this happens, hunting, poaching, and sometimes there is also a nexus between the let's say the forest officials, or maybe the local people, or maybe some let's say outside smugglers or poachers, right? And again, see, the heading for us, we have to see the concerns also and the reasons for extinction. The British policy was one of the reasons for extinction. Okay, hunting in general was a reason for extinction, and again can be a reason for extinction if proper vigilance is not taken into account. Now, climate change. Generally, the habitats are shrinking. There is more fragmentation, etc., which is going on. The productivity, the yield, and this also can impact the prey-predator relationship. So, climate change, which has multifaceted and multidimensional impacts, can also be a concern in this particular manner. Okay, so this also we have to think about. Then overpopulation. Generally, what does overpopulation lead to? Again, encroachment, again fragmentation, and this also leads to man-human or man-animal conflicts. Okay, so overpopulation, etc., all these things, and this leads to unplanned urbanization. We encroach into their pristine areas. So while I said that Kuno Palpur does not have the human habitations, what if because of overpopulation, slowly and steadily, there is this whole tussle for land? What would happen? Again, there will be more conflicts. More conflicts means more deaths. And here, if there is a man-animal conflict, there is a loss of life. Okay, oh sorry, loss of life. Even the infrastructure can get collapsed. Okay, so life of both the humans, the animals, so this can lead to multiple challenges. Okay, now because of monetary profit also, because this hunting happens to take place, illegal wildlife trade happens to take place, so maybe because of, let's say, there is some incentive which is there for the people to poach, okay, or hunt this. So this is driven by a lot of these monetary profits. So all these things contribute as a reason for extinction. Okay, that is number one. In terms of natural reasons, one of the main prominent reason is that what if the prey base, which everybody is saying is adequate, what if it is not adequate at a period of time, right? So that is one. Second is cohabitation. Now the cheetah have to live with lion also, with perhaps leopard also. Okay, so they have to, if they have to live with the 4 big cats, there might be issues in cohabitation with the top predators, right? This can be a problem, and ultimately prey base for all of them combined at some point of time might become low. So again, the environmental conservationists are divided. If you read the current affairs articles, etc., some set of conservationists say that the prey base is not adequate. Again, this is where we have to be more patient. We have to see at least in the next 6 months or 1 year, how is the project doing. But again, we have to see whether they are able to properly have cohabitation, whether they are able to have prey base, and also think that these are not your native species. So it will always be a challenge for them to adapt. Okay, these are the African cheetah. So both morphologically or let's say in behavioral terms or patterns, there are some differences with the Asiatic counterpart, right? So it is only in the long term that you and I will get to know that what is the success of this final project. But these are some of the challenges which the project still faces. And again, one more thing. If we compare the area, right, of the African parks and the Indian parks, it is found that the Indian parks are smaller in size, which again poses a challenge for these African cheetah. Okay, so this also is something that might lead to concerns. This might lead to perhaps a reason also for extinction. And again, for extinction, we mean the number of cheetah which you bring here might not be able to survive. Okay, because they're already thriving and surviving in the parts of Africa. Okay, so you have to understand these all things in that particular context. Now, while now you have already reintroduced them, what is still happening here? That we have seen that there is a death of cheetahs. Again, I told you the recent 9 deaths happened. Okay, and one of the reason was that we have seen that there are radio collars. Okay, the radio collars on their necks. Now this has led to wounds. Okay, and this has also led to infections by bacteria. So because of wounds, etc., the blood, etc., is there, and this is also being infected by the bacteria. So a lot of these deaths have happened. Okay, so the use of radio collars has also led to certain deaths. This is also an issue. Also, one of the concerns, at least when I say here also, is you are bringing a foreign species to India, right? When you're bringing a foreign species to India, and then of course you are putting a lot of money efforts here, does that really qualify, at least in some conservationists, that does this qualify to be the ambassador of all the conservation species? Maybe not. So maybe that can also be a challenge, that whether it can qualify to be called as a proper symbol of conservation, because again you're bringing something else. Also, it is also said, and again let's say some of the critics argue, that this particular project, because we are spending in so much of money, also takes away the attention, money and resources from other conservation projects. Because of this, other projects are also hampering. And again the people say, why are you not conserving the species which are here, and why are you bringing something extra from the other? Although we can argue that it's a flagship species, it has its own benefits for the ecosystem, it supports ecosystem services, but there can be a case which can be made that in India you already have a lot of critically endangered varieties. What about them? And what if the money which was being spent here could have been spent to save the species? So again, these are certain challenges also, right? So what should be the way forward? Again, the way forward should be built on the challenges which we face. Okay, so number one again is to increase the prey base. This is the most scientific and the logical way to help them, right? Because you already have proper 4 big cats or the predators living in, so they can only survive if they have prey base, right? So this is one thing that has to be worked upon, right? Then community development is very important. In fact, within India also, whenever translocation projects have happened, let's say within one of the projects happened to have from Madhya Pradesh to Satkosia in Odisha. Now this project particularly failed because the people were not having trust or confidence in the forest officials. Okay, so people actually killed the tiger. So here also, if the people are properly made aware, if the people are actively participating in the conservation, the people know that this will help in, let's say, overall restoration of the grassland biome. This will help in overall ecosystem. So community development will have to be a very strong point if we have to think about things in the future, right? Again, how would you gain the confidence of these villagers or the local people? More awareness campaigns, including them taking their inputs also, fine. And this will also reduce the potential chances of man-animal conflict also, right? So all these things you have to think about. Then capacity building of who? So number one, forest officials. Then not just forest officials, but think about the veterinary doctors. Now sometimes a lot of the diseases which happen, if the doctors are well equipped, trained, and they have the latest, let's say, facilities, they might be able to save them. Again, for example, sometimes there have been certain issues which can be avoided. So veterinary staff, the forest officials, and even the local people, of how to deal with the acclimatization or how to take care of the diets. Okay, so all these things, if we are able to put in more efforts into, certainly this will add, let's say, more benefits. Okay, so be it the veterinary department, okay, or again giving these forest officials the best of technology to prevent huntings, let's say illegal trade, etc. Better vigilance is needed. If even if they're, let's say, deploying the collars, this can be made better. So again, all this requires capacity building at a large levels, capacity building of officials, of support staff, okay, and also of the local people living in, right? And then rehabilitation also of villages is also essential. Again, this whole idea is to prevent the man-animal conflict, okay? So if these things, if the tech, and also I can add a couple of points, if the technology is also properly integrated. So if technology is also integrated, it will help in better surveillance. So wildlife crimes can be also properly, let's say, tracked because of this. So this can also happen, okay? And one of the reasons you also saw was the issue of when the wildlife crime happens. So we need collaboration between police, between the forest officials, and also the revenue department. Okay, so we want, what do we want? We want intersectoral coordination. You can use this keyword. Intersectoral coordination, right? Okay. And then ultimately, if we are able to integrate all these points, this is going to really help, right? So this is, I think, one thing that we have to understand. And ultimately, the last thing would have to be, for example, if you have created a project, annual monitoring, etc. has to be done. So basically, review has to be a very core component. 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, what is the status? How much is the prey base? So a constant check is going to go a long way. So again, checking with the locals, again doing consistent regular building. So annual monitoring review, okay, or performance review, etc. will go a long way, okay. And again, think about the benefits. If we are able to carry this out better, this will set an example to carry out global conservation efforts. So even other countries might be motivated to do so. It also might enhance India's stature, right? Because a lot of, let's say, we also, because of the Project Tiger completing 50 years, we also had the international, this big cat alliance being set up also. So there is a lot of environmental related traction which India is doing. So successful carrying out of the project helps. And by the way, even if there are some hiccups, lessons, they have to be learned and then deployed, okay. So this will again go a long way in ensuring that we are able to manage this better. Because again, see, and you will also understand that wildlife biology, or let's say wildlife management, is a multidisciplinary subject, okay. So one needs a proper holistic understanding of the environment, okay, of possible interactions, then management, thinking of veterinary diseases, okay, then at a policy level, and then ultimately at the wildlife crime level. So there is a multi-pronged or a multidisciplinary approach required to make this ultimately a success. We have seen success in Project Tiger, although it's a different case, right? Because, and this is also a different case, this is an intercontinental translocation project, right? But there can be some similarities or some of the learnings which can be deployed from Project Tiger to help this to be a success, right? So I hope you got a proper understanding of this topic. If there is any question on mains, I'm pretty sure with this understanding, you will be able to write it down. I've shared some examples with you, okay, and some other dimensions which you can definitely go through, right? Again, if you want access to the notes, you can certainly join our Telegram channel, that is Sunya Notes 50, okay? And again, we will be meeting you again and again with these mains article discussion to help you enrich your journey, okay? So with that, I'll take your leave now. I hope you keep on revising. Thank you.